The last red line of the WTA. There are times I wonder if I'm playing tennis out of passion or because people expect me to win. Viktorija Golubic is not a name usually associated with drama. But this time, she stands at the center of a media storm that many are calling the last red line of the WTA. A timeout, seemingly legitimate, has become the focus of an official investigation, carrying the risk of heavy fines or even suspension. The match was between Golubic, the 31-year-old veteran, and Eala, a 19-year-old talent from the Philippines in the crucial stage of defining her career. Crucially, Eala was leading, controlling the match, and just a few games away from securing a major victory, one that would propel her into the WTA Top 50 for the first time, opening the door to her first global sponsorship opportunity from a Japanese brand. And then the timeout. Golubic requested a stoppage of play for a medical issue, but instead of the usual 90 seconds, the break stretched to 6 minutes. During this time, she repeatedly discussed a previously confirmed call with the umpire. The result, Eala lost her rhythm. She dropped her first service game upon returning to the court, hitting only a 53% first serve percentage, and never recovered. If this were the first time, it might be an accident. But the press quickly dug up two old incidents, one in Budapest, one in Monterrey, both involving controversial timeouts, both occurring when the opponent was gaining momentum. A pattern began to emerge, not just a match, but a dangerous, ethically questionable style of play. The video recording the incident received over 5 million views in 24 hours. But what shocked the audience was not just the stoppage, but Eala's reaction. She broke down in tears as she left the court, not in front of the cameras, but behind the scenes, in her coach's arms. An image leaked by a backstage staff member is now spreading rapidly across Asian Reddit forums. The WTA rarely opens an investigation within 24 hours. But this time, they acted. Where did the pressure come from? Or did they realize that without a strong response, they might lose the new generation of talent emerging from Southeast Asia, a market where they are investing millions of USD for expansion? If you want to understand the true nature of the incident, not just through the highlights, subscribe to the Pro Tennis 360 channel. Because this is not just an investigation. This is a litmus test for the integrity of the entire tennis world. When a timeout becomes a psychological weapon on court. If you've ever played competitive sports, you understand one thing. Losing momentum is losing everything. In tennis, where there is no clock, no direct support team, everything depends on spirit and the flow of momentum. And Eala, at 19, keenly felt that slip, not due to a technical error, but because of a sudden decision from her opponent. The match against Viktorija Golubic should have been a memorable milestone. Eala was leading, had a break, and was on the verge of victory against a former Wimbledon quarterfinalist. Her forehands were flying, her serve was steady, and her spirit was high. And then Golubic called a timeout. Initially, no one paid attention. A 31-year-old player requesting a medical break. Perfectly normal. But the delay was unusually long, 6 minutes and 22 seconds. No doctor entered the court. No bandaging, no physical therapy. Instead, Golubic stood talking to the umpire about a call that had already been confirmed by technology. The camera caught Eala standing at the baseline, trying to maintain her rhythm with shadow swings. But anyone who plays tennis understands, you can swing your racket, but you cannot recover the initial state of readiness after an unexpected interruption. The result was clear. Eala lost her service game immediately upon returning. WTA statistics recorded. Her first serve percentage dropped from 71% to 53%. The average speed of her forehand decreased by nearly 12 kilometers per hour. She hit 2 double faults in the same game, something that hadn't happened all tournament. But the numbers don't tell the whole story. In a subsequent interview with Philippine media, Eala admitted, "I felt like I was pulled out of my own match. When I came back, my mind went blank." A rare admission from a typically reserved player. So, was that timeout random or a psychological weapon? If it were the first time, it might be called a coincidence. But when we look back at Golubic's match history, with at least 2 similar incidents having occurred, the story begins to become clearer. And in Block 2, we will open the file on previous occasions when Golubic has done this, with the victims being young, hopeful players. The silent file of suspicious timeouts. The incident in the match against Eala is not the first time Viktorija Golubic has been placed at the center of controversy. When we start to revisit suspicious milestones in her past, a pattern gradually emerges, subtle but undeniable. In July 2023, the Budapest Open, Golubic faced the young Czech player Linda Fruhvirtova, a rising name, just turned 18. Linda led the first set, clearly dominating with shots close to the baseline. But while leading 4-1 in the second set, the match was suddenly interrupted. Golubic called a medical timeout after a slight slip, although she requested no physical therapy. Instead, she retreated to the technical area, covering her face with a towel for over 4 minutes. From that moment, Linda lost 5 consecutive games, and after the match, she refused to attend the press conference. Experts at the time suggested Fruhvirtova was simply overwhelmed by pressure. But when placed next to the Eala incident, suspicion arises. 2 young players, both gaining momentum. 2 matches interrupted at the critical moment. And both results were reversed. It didn't stop there. March 2024, the Monterrey Open. Golubic met Peyton Stearns, the American player, in her breakout phase. Just as Stearns won the first break in the decisive third set, Golubic called a timeout again. The reason? Shoulder pain. Despite no prior signs of injury, spectators at the court began booing. And on social media, the phrase #GolubicTimeout started to appear. The WTA Federation took no action. But according to an internal source from an anonymous female coach on the WTA Tour, the situation was included in a technical report. We can't go public, but many insiders have started paying attention to the moments Golubic calls timeouts. Once could be an accident. Twice is suspicious. 3 times, with the victims all being young players gaining winning momentum, is no longer a coincidence. Is this a calculated strategy? If true, Golubic is not only violating the spirit of sportsmanship, but also exploiting a loophole in the rules, one that has never been strictly addressed by the WTA. In the next section, we will see the profound consequences not only for Eala or Fruhvirtova, but for how tennis treats players from nations outside the traditional power structure. Behind a timeout, when confidence is stolen. For players from tennis strongholds like the US, Australia, or France, an incident like Golubic's timeout might be just a temporary hurdle. But for Eala and Linda Fruhvirtova before her, this can be a devastating psychological blow with long-term effects. Alex is the greatest hope for Philippine tennis. With her current form, she was poised to enter the WTA Top 50, an unprecedented achievement in her nation's women's sports history. The victory against Golubic was not just about points, but a validation that she was ready to compete on par with big names. And then, everything collapsed after an action lasting 6 minutes. More tellingly, the WTA has no mechanism for young players like Eala to file a complaint. There is no neutral organization representing their voices. In the post-match press conference, Eala offered a forced smile and said maybe she really needed that timeout. A haunting statement, as she dared not accuse, but everyone understood what she was thinking. The Philippine online community was not so gentle. The hashtag Let Alex Play exploded with over 18,000 posts in 48 hours, making Eala trend on Twitter in Southeast Asia. Many argue this is the clearest manifestation of hidden power, where players from smaller nations are less likely to resist unfair play. This raises a bigger question. If the rules don't protect people like Eala, then who will? Analysts at ESPN commented, if the WTA doesn't impose a clear penalty, this incident will set a bad precedent. It sends a message that you can stop a young talent with a technical trick and go unpunished. Tennis is a sport of time, rhythm, and respect for the opponent. When one of those 3 elements is torn away, you are no longer competing. You are manipulating. And if the WTA doesn't act now, they risk losing an entire generation of talent in the markets they are diligently trying to build. WTA, upholding the rules, or nurturing drama. There is an undeniable truth. Drama sells tickets. Every time there is a controversy on the court, viewership increases, social media is abuzz, and highlights go viral. And the WTA, like every major sports organization, is part of that game. The Golubic incident, despite the controversy, helped her match against Eala become one of the most shared clips of the week. Sports channels in Asia, which rarely talk about women's tennis, are now covering it minute by minute. But the question is the WTA trading the integrity of the sport for attention? As of now, Golubic has not been fined. The WTA stated they are reviewing the case. But similar past incidents, like those involving Sara Errani or Yelena Ostapenko, saw investigations drag on for months, and the results were often just a light fine or a warning. Such penalties are not enough of a deterrent, especially for players in the late stage of their careers like Golubic. She is currently ranked outside the top 130. Her income is unstable, and one surprise victory at a small tournament can extend her career by another season. If trading opponent respect for a few $1,000s is the price, perhaps that is the easy choice. Therefore, the WTA silence is raising doubts about fairness. Are the rules only applied to those who don't generate ratings? Is a young player from Southeast Asia easier to overlook than a seasoned player from Europe? In a controversial article in Tennis World USA, columnist Jonathan Myers directly questioned, the WTA must choose, uphold fairness, or maintain appeal through scandal, because the two cannot coexist indefinitely. And if their choice is silence, the consequences will not stop at just one match. The unforeseen psychological consequences. No one sees it as clearly as the people involved. The consequences of an unfair loss are not just in the scoreboard or the ranking, but they linger in the mind, in every subsequent step onto the court. Eala, after the match, did not give direct interviews, but in a brief live stream with fans a few days later, she said one simple thing: "I should have reset faster, but I just couldn't." An expression of an unnamed psychological trauma, the loss of faith in the rhythm of play, in the justice of the court, and in herself. Young players thrive on confidence. They don't yet have a depth of achievement to rely on, nor multi-million-dollar contracts to ensure mental stability. A small crack in the belief system, like the feeling of being cheated with no one to defend them, can cost them an entire season. The case of Linda Fruhvirtova is one example. After losing to Golubic in Budapest, her performance declined steadily, dropping out of the top 100, and she had to withdraw from several tournaments due to unstable mental state. The media didn't say much, but coaches understood. A mental fissure is sometimes harder to recover from than a physical injury. The WTA has invested heavily in development strategies in Southeast Asia, Africa, and Eastern Europe, places where tennis lacks tradition but has great potential. But if the young talents from these regions are not protected, all those strategies will backfire. Tennis is an individual sport where all pressure is focused on a single person. And in that world, the feeling of being isolated after a controversial timeout is something that can kill a career before it even takes off. WTA, upholding the rules or nurturing drama. There is an undeniable truth. Drama sells tickets. Every time there is a controversy on the court, viewership increases, social media is abuzz, and highlights go viral. And the WTA, like every major sports organization, is part of that game. The Golubic incident, despite the controversy, helped her match against Eala become one of the most shared clips of the week. Sports channels in Asia, which rarely talk about women's tennis, are now covering it minute by minute. But the question is the WTA trading the integrity of the sport for attention? As of now, Golubic has not been fined. The WTA stated they are reviewing the case. But similar past incidents, like those involving Sara Errani or Yelena Ostapenko, saw investigations drag on for months, and the results were often just a light fine or a warning. Such penalties are not enough of a deterrent, especially for players in the late stage of their careers like Golubic. She is currently ranked outside the top 130. Her income is unstable, and one surprise victory at a small tournament can extend her career by another season. If trading opponent respect for a few $1,000s is the price, perhaps that is the easy choice. Therefore, the WTA silence is raising doubts about fairness. Are the rules only applied to those who don't generate ratings? Is a young player from Southeast Asia easier to overlook than a seasoned player from Europe? In a controversial article in Tennis World USA, columnist Jonathan Myers directly questioned, the WTA must choose, uphold fairness, or maintain appeal through scandal, because the two cannot coexist indefinitely. And if their choice is silence, the consequences will not stop at just one match. WTA at the crossroads. After all, the biggest question no longer revolves around Golubic or Eala. It is, what will the WTA do? This is the moment the organization needs to make a decisive choice. Either they protect fairness with clear penalties, such as point deductions, temporary suspensions, or even mandatory re-education in sports ethics, or they remain silent and accept that disruptive play, tactical timeouts, and unsportsmanlike maneuvers will become part of the game. The WTA has reasons to hesitate. They are growing strongly in Southeast Asia, where Eala is a representative figure. But they also don't want to alienate veteran players, especially since many of them are ticket magnets, drawing loyal fans. However, if they don't act, the signal sent to the tennis community is very clear. You can violate sports ethics as long as you don't cause financial damage. And that is the seed for the erosion of trust. In the final section, we will reach the yet-to-be-resolved conclusion. Will Golubic be punished? Will Eala recover her spirit? And above all, will tennis remain a level playing field? Or is it gradually becoming a game of power and unsportsmanlike tactics? The media storm and the shift in public opinion. If the incident between Golubic and Eala began as a purely sports scandal, it transformed into an international media storm after just 48 hours. The spread of the video recording the controversial timeout went beyond the tennis community, becoming a focus of news reports in the Philippines, Asia, and many international newspapers. In Manila, ABS-CBN television dedicated 15 minutes of its evening news to analyzing the situation. Experts not only talked about tennis tactics, but also questioned fairness for developing nations in the global sports arena. A tweet from the famous sports journalist Gretchen Ho, a former national volleyball player, received over 250,000 interactions. A timeout doesn't just interrupt the match. It interrupts the dream of a generation. In the US, ESPN and Tennis Channel began to cover Eala in more detail, the first time her name appeared on major sports talk shows. The Filipino-American community, which is very large, quickly turned the incident into a movement of support. Fan pages, TikToks, and analytical video edits were heavily shared. The hashtag Justice for Eala hit global trending topics. Video segments of Golubic's timeout were analyzed frame by frame, gesture by gesture. In some viral versions, the action was even compared to simulation, the time-wasting trick often seen in European football. The widespread outrage forced influential figures in the tennis world to speak out. Billie Jean King, an icon of women's sports equality, wrote on Instagram, "Tennis cannot grow in new territories if we don't protect new players. Fairness is not a privilege." It was a pressure from public opinion that forced the WTA to accelerate the investigation process, something that rarely happens so quickly. But the viral spread also raised a new issue. When public opinion dictates the direction of justice, is there still room for objectivity? The power of the media is undeniable. But amidst the data, emotions, and controversy, the key is to uphold principles. And in the next section, we will touch upon the crux of the matter, the real ending awaiting Golubic, and whether Eala can overcome the storm. When justice meets difficulty, who pays the price? The nature of a scandal does not lie in a single action, but in the consequences it creates. And right now, both Viktorija Golubic and Alex Eala are paying very different prices. For Golubic, if the WTA concludes she deliberately used the timeout as an unsportsmanlike tactical tool, the penalty could include a fine from $10,000 to $50,000, a ranking point deduction, or a temporary ban from competition. at age 31, with a ranking outside the top 130. Such a penalty could be the end of her already fragile professional career. She is no longer favored by major sponsors. Every time she steps onto the court is a gamble to continue existing in the system. A 3-month ban could mean losing the right to participate in lower-level tournaments and losing the chance to return to the main tour. But on the flip side, Eala is not entirely a winner in this moral battle either. Her mindset is affected, her confidence shaken, the pressure from the media. All can leave difficult-to-heal scars on the journey of a young player. Those who witness the careers of Naomi Osaka or Bianca Andreescu understand. Talent is not enough. Mental stability is also crucial. The WTA also faces a dilemma. If they rule lightly, they are accused of condoning tricks. If they rule harshly, they might set a legal precedent, causing a flood of appeals from other players. Every decision right now carries political and financial risk. Ultimately, perhaps what needs to be made clearest is not just right or wrong, but the standard of fairness. The WTA wants to be a global organization, but if they cannot protect those on the periphery of the system, they will soon lose the trust that millions of young fans are placing in tennis as a sport of hope. In the upcoming payoff, we will dissect the final message, the truth about court power, and why this scandal, regardless of the outcome, remains an unforgettable lesson for both sides. The truth on the court is not always level. Regardless of the investigation's outcome, the incident between Viktorija Golubic and Eala has become a classic example of a profound lesson. In the world of sports, where achievement is measured in seconds, points, and sets, there still exist gray areas that no data can measure. These are the gray areas of motivation, invisible pressure, and hidden power. We can easily point the finger at Golubic and call her a cheater, but the scarier truth is the system that has allowed, even encouraged, such behavior to exist. When every victory has economic value, and every match can become viral content, the line between a trick and a tactic becomes increasingly blurred. As for Eala, if she overcomes this shock and continues to rise, her greatest victory will not be on the scoreboard, but in her fortitude. In a world where fairness is not guaranteed for the rightful, maintaining one's integrity is already an achievement. This incident will subside, like every other sports scandal. But the question will linger. If not for the outrage from the online community, if not for the camera recording the moment, would justice ever have been served? And if tennis wants to expand into Asia, Africa, or South America, how will other Ealas be treated when they stand before the old guard? In the modern sports world, where the media can overturn a result with just a few million views, what we need is not just rules. We need organizations that dare to stand up, athletes who dare to speak out, and audiences, like you, who dare to ask questions. If you believe that tennis needs to be more transparent, and young players deserve protection from all unfair tactics, subscribe to the Pro Tennis 360 channel. Because only when the community speaks up will the court truly be level. What do you think about the truth behind Viktorija Golubic's timeout? Leave a comment below and share this video if you believe justice should not be a privilege.